I was born into the generation that grew up on Fast and Furious, Need for Speed, and Hot Wheels. I still remember when I was 4 in preschool, my dad came and picked me up early to take me to see Tokyo Drift in theaters at Carolina Mall. I remember getting up early on Saturday mornings and playing in the living room before my parents got up, and I remember having the little tiny city rug that everybody my age had when they were little kids and playing with Hot Wheels on it. Cars have been in my life since the beginning that I can think of, and they are a huge part of how I got to where I am today. And so that's what I decided to talk about. The history of car culture is interestingly mixed with a lot of criminal activity. Before NASCAR, there were moonshiners who built their cars to run away from the police and escape and deliver their illegal alcohol. Eventually, they figured out that it was very entertaining, and so they made it into an actual racetrack that people could go and watch. In a similar way, drifting in the mountains or on the streets eventually became something called Super D in Japan, where you could go and watch these guys do what they do best on a track and do it gorgeously. Another really cool part of car culture that developed from something quite illegal was Zokusha, which is a modification style in Japan. It started out from Bosozoku biker gangs, which were originally started by kamikaze pilots post-World War II, who, when they had to integrate into society, instead of just becoming normal people, of course, became biker gangs and found themselves to be roving samurai in their own country. They were definitely a nuisance to everyone in Japan and a threat to a lot of people. But they led to one of the coolest modification styles that I personally love and have ever seen. All of this leads to takeovers. A takeover is when a bunch of kids take their cars, mostly rear-wheel drive, and take over a stoplight at an intersection or a parking lot or even a part of a highway and do donuts and do burnouts and generally cause havoc for the common people on the road. They're dangerous, they lead to damage on other people's cars, they hit people sometimes, and it's just a mess for everybody involved. The police come after them, chase them down, and it's not good for anybody. It's not good for the common people who have to travel around and get to their day jobs. And it's not good for car enthusiasts like myself, who before we were looked at as a chance for police officers to write speeding tickets because, we're all speeding up the highway or driving too late at night or driving with our music too loud. But before we were not looked at as violent offenders who hit people with our cars and mess everything up. Takeovers have created that and brought that in. So police have become hyper vigilant to all car enthusiasts and started targeting. One of the big examples is H2OI, a meet that used to happen in Ocean City, Maryland. A long time ago, it was a Volkswagen and BMW meet where all of the guys would come together and have a great time and show off their stuff to each other and just generally hang out. Over time, more rowdy people came in and it was slowly pushed out of Ocean City by the police department. But all of those rowdy people continued to go to Ocean City. As a matter of fact, last year, there were 345 cars impounded over 2 days. It's crazy and it needs to stop because it's getting to be a terrible problem. Now, my solution that I'm proposing is skid pads. Skid pads already exist in multiple tracks across the country. There's one at Thunderhill Raceway, Tennessee, and there's one at the Atlanta Motor Speedway. Those are the two closest that I know of. The issue is the prices. For one car on the small skid pad at Thunderhill Raceway, it is $800 a day. Now, it's a private rental. You get it to yourself, and you can do whatever you want pretty much as long as you can clean up at the end. But $800 is a lot of money for one person, and it gets even worse. The larger skid pad is $1,300. Another place that has it, the Atlanta Motor Speedway, for any amount of cars, it's $999 a day. While a group of 20 could find a way to reasonably pay that, doing that every weekend or every other weekend, or even once a month is outrageous. Plus, you have to think about tires and the damage that might happen to their cars from just normal wear and tear. It's too much for a lot of car enthusiasts, especially young ones, to spend on something to do. So of course, kids will be kids. They'll end up doing it back in a parking lot or in a stoplight or on the highway. fix that, I think there should be some way to implement public skid pens, whether those are made by those tracks themselves, or they make specific days that you can do it, or even, I think the city of Atlanta proposed making one for the entire city. It's a place where kids can go and spend $5, $10, $15, end up on a track, maybe with other people, maybe not, and go do the things that they would be doing at a stoplight, but away from the public, away from places they can damage other people's property or hurt other people. Now, of course, that would require that there would be waivers for them to sign, because if they do damage their own property, it would be a terrible thing for them, and a lot of kids can't pay for that. But it would give them an opportunity to do what they want to do. And even after they sign the waiver, they still get to enjoy what they love. Thank you for coming to my talk.